Here we go. So tonight we're going to talk about gold and diamonds in Arkansas. So it's interesting that you can't find as much gold in Arkansas as you can the interest in diamonds. And I'll talk about a little bit about how those diamonds came to be and what you're looking for when you're looking for diamonds. It's kind of interesting also that you can use this USGS mapping thing I've been talking about. That's that link down below, sourdoughminer.com/GGM, Government Gold Maps. And so pretty much this tool allows you to see how you can find different things. And one of the things we're going to do today is adventure a little bit off the beaten path and look for something other than gold that's valuable, like diamonds. So it's useful because you can also look for gems, you can look for emeralds, you can look for things like that. And based on those items, you can find other things that might be of interest to you while you're panning and prospecting, because they tend to come out in the wash, so to speak. They may show up in your pan and you need to know what you're looking for. And if they do, you need to know what's upstream and what you might be prospecting for that isn't gold. So it might be very valuable. Emeralds, for example, can be extremely valuable if you find a good source. So let's take a look. I have colored Arkansas right now. I'm going to check to see. Let's pause for a second. I'm going to check and make sure everybody's online with this and that we're getting good audio per usual. Double check the stream and make sure we're live, which we are. Make sure we have audio.
I don't know whether we do or not.
We have audio.
7 comments.
Okay, so we're good. Hey, Charles. Good evening. Let's see. We got Bob and Charles. Sound, no, and pictures, very good. The sound is going now. At least I thought I heard it. I don't know why it wasn't there earlier, so maybe I need to recap for a moment. Make sure we have sound. Loud and clear, they say. Okay, so let's recap. I'll rewind from the start. So tonight we're going to go and look at gold and diamonds in Arkansas. And specifically what I wanted to show you a little bit about was how you can use this thing I've been talking about all along, this link down below, the Government Gold Maps tool, GGM, sourdough miner thing. You can go check that out later. It's cheap and it's easy to get to. If you're interested, that's fine. If you're not, that's fine too. So the purpose of this exercise is to use that tool, that set of tools, in a particular way to find some points of interest throughout Arkansas. I have noted the gold in yellow per usual, but one of the things I thought might be interesting is just to kind of step back and look at the nature of Arkansas and what's going on here, because there isn't a lot of gold. And that fits with what we noticed before as we head across away from the East Coast through into Arkansas. Let me back off on this thing a little bit. So remember, we had all kinds of gold here over in Alabama, still showing up because I left it turned on. But then it kind of petered out as it went toward Mississippi, and we didn't find a whole lot of gold in Missouri. We did find some, though, down in this lower quadrant, you know, the bottom. And so look up the Missouri and the Alabama videos. You can find them somewhere around here on Facebook or over on YouTube on my Prospector Jess channel. And then what you're going to want to do is just kind of pay attention to the fact that there was a fair amount of gold found over in this area, and copper and stuff like that we were doing. I'm doing the same trick I've been doing the last few months, actually weeks. The beginning of the month didn't need to because there was lots of gold to find, and so it gave you kind of a good lead. That doesn't mean that it wouldn't be good to look at copper, and in this case green is zinc. Because these are all associated metals that go with gold. So I'm painting copper and zinc on here. Copper is given in a reddish orange. So there we have copper and manganese here in this North Mountain mine. Now, it's important to pay attention because zinc also goes like copper does with gold. And notice this one is an unknown, and it gives copper as the main, and then iron, phosphorus, phosphates, tantalum. Interesting stuff. That's valuable. Zinc. Okay, so here we go. We've got a whole band of very interesting, rarish metallic minerals up here on these various properties in the corner of Arkansas, up toward Missouri. Now, if you recall, we found some gold over in this area. So right here, I noticed there's this Baker mine. It's copper. What I'm saying here is this would infer that there may still be some residue or gold residue in this region of Arkansas, even though there aren't mines marked out here. And again, we have this regional anomaly, this mountain range, and then it's kind of cut back. We have all this stuff from the Mississippi River, which cuts right down along this border. That's why it's so kinked up right here. And so this tends to be alluvial stuff, and therefore is going to be loaded with really fine gold and not much in the way of coarse stuff. The people who are finding gold in this part of Missouri are finding mostly very fine gold and some flake, no nuggets, okay, for the most part. That's going to probably be true of most of these things. Now, this old Spanish diggings I thought was kind of interesting. This is down to central Arkansas. It lists gold as a commodity, and it says surface, and it lists underground. So I thought that was kind of interesting in its own right, because when you find surface and underground, it tends to mean that they've somehow found a placer deposit that leads to a lode mine. There's no further indication, no dates or anything like that. Some of these are very old, like old Spanish diggings kind of implies. And so you're kind of flying on your own when you're in those regions. But that's one area. Another one is this Otto mine here, which has zinc, as we can see in the green. And over here we have gold. So antimony, lead, zinc, silver, and gold. I didn't put silver on the map because I just thought it was going to get polluted. Jamesonite, sphalerite, and stibnite. So these are all, very interesting ores of antimony, lead, silver, and eventually it's got some gold here. So this is good stuff. Let's see if it has any information about dates. 1962, antimony in the U.S. Stibnite deposits of Sevier County, Arkansas. So there you go. 62 records, and we have gold and antimony in this area. So right next to it is this Busby prospect, which is known for lead and zinc. Here we've got mercury, arsenic, antimony, silver, and zinc. Again, when you start seeing arsenic and silver and zinc and mercury, they can go with gold as well. So now, all of these guys tend to be something that might be a little bit, on the hazardous side to deal with, but it's there. Let's see, up in this region up here, we have a bunch of claims, a whole bunch of claims, lead and zinc. So there's a lot of lead up in here and a lot of lead over in here. It's kind of interesting how these clusters exist. Now, so that's one aspect of what I wanted to go into tonight. And I think that's kind of it for the metallic prospects. Let's take a look at something else you can find using this government gold map technique. And that is, you can find even diamonds. For example, right in here is a whole bunch of kimberlite mines, as you can see. And these all relate to the Crater of Diamonds area, which is right here. And of course, their commodity number one is diamonds. And when you zoom in, which is kind of cool, you'll see what I mean. Now, you would be expecting, because remember, diamonds come from an old volcano. Anybody see a volcano around in here? I don't. But that doesn't mean that there isn't a kimberlite pipe or a volcanic pipe that's been eroded off flat. And the material within the pipe that was captured, which are these kimberlite resources that break down and release the diamonds, which are crystals stuck in the middle of that kimberlite, which was embedded really deep in the surface of the earth and then has been eroded ever since. So what we're looking at here is a whole series of locations, including this one's kind of off the path, this Ozark mine. But these are all diamond mines of various sorts. And I noticed, lately somebody had picked off here in the last month or two a couple of 1 to 2 carat diamonds out of this area. That's a pretty good find. What they do is kind of interesting. Notice how it's all tilled. They come in here and they basically till the soil every so often, and then they let the rainfall wash the surface. And what happens is when the surface is washed after you till it, any diamonds that are released will become highly reflective, and so they stand out like a road marker, and you can literally pick them off the ground. You can also take the material off the ground that you find and sift it through with a sieve, and essentially do the same thing you do when you mine for gold. You can do a processing with your pan and find the stuff and release it that way. So there's a whole series of tools that you can use. There are some special ones that have special kinds of sieves that you use for releasing diamonds. And if you're in a region that has diamonds or jewels or gems, you might want to invest in a set of those tools just because they're useful for uncovering this kind of material. Again, you know, diamonds, Crater of Diamonds South. It's a very popular park. A lot of people come here and dig up diamonds, and it's been fun to see recently that people are getting bigger and bigger and better gems. They're known for yellow diamonds, which are not your brilliant whites, but it turns out in the world of diamonds, yellows and browns and things like that are becoming kind of popular because they're kind of an oddity or unique in their own character, which is cool. I always like things that are unique anyway, partly because it's the way nature is, and when you get things that are just, you know, brilliant white, it's kind of that's okay, but it's cool to see colors and things like that that are natural artifacts due to the composition of the material. Here's another one, another diamond zone. So somebody's planning to go diamond hunting there, and that's great. Primarily, just like gold, you know, you're in this to discover what's there, what's possible, and, you know, not to get rich necessarily. But at the same time, there's no reason you can't avail yourself of the concepts involved here and look at other locations with similar properties. And I'll bring up that in a second here. So this is all about diamonds in this one zone. I colored it kind of purpley to differentiate it from a different color I gave, which is kind of a purple red, which I run out of colors after a while. They all start looking alike. Remember, this one's copper. It's kind of a brassy red, but you can't quite see it that way. This one's kind of a maroon, for the lack of a better color. And it's a wavellite mine, and it's categorized as gemstone, okay? So one other thing you might want to do with these maps is mark out local sources for gemstones. That's not necessarily diamonds, not necessarily emeralds. It could be things like agates or any semi-precious or precious gemstones. Could include corundum, which would be rubies and things like that. But it's important to kind of map these out and know what you're dealing with, and kind of be able to find those things if you see them in the creek when you're prospecting for gold. It's fun to be able to isolate those things. Now this one is Geologist Hot Springs, gives a phone number. 1965 is the year discovered. So these are all kind of relatively recent. And when I see something that says 1960s, 70s, even 40s, my brain goes into gear because it says that means there could be more in the area. 1800s still could be more, but you know, it might be picked over depending upon if there were a lot found in the area. But as in gold, it can also be, you know, like what you saw with the diamonds. All it takes is a little tilling from the soil or some floods coming through and changes the whole ball game in terms of your ability to find stuff. So just be aware of that. Let's see, this one's copper. Big Bear Mining Company. Here we go. Here's one I thought was interesting. These are unknown gravel pits and unknown pits. Gemstone, surface mine. Let's see what it has to say. USGS gemstone. Doesn't tell me what kind of gems we're finding. I don't have a clue. Hence it says unknown or Uncle Gemstone here. Let's see what this one says. Probably same thing. Yep, same basic description. So again, you'd have to dig deeper into other material to find the type of stones you might expect in this region. But it does indicate that there are some sources. Here's one over by Texarkana. Highway map. Not sure what that means. Again, we're going to draw a skunked. I don't know what those things are, but they apparently are some sort of mineral that's considered to be a gemstone in the USGS. It would be worth your while to look at the geology of the region and map that out and understand what kinds of gemstones might come there. Like that wavellite might be a particular gemstone that you're looking at. I'm sure it is. And then you might go along with that. The crater of diamonds is interesting. It's also interesting is, you know, are there other kimberlite or kimberlite structures in the area of Murfreesboro? I am not good at these words. So, so anyway, it would be worth your while just to kind of explore that thought, but that's part of what I wanted to bring up tonight. There isn't so much in the way of gold, but there is an awful lot of opportunity for all kinds of interesting stuff. Again, if you go along the Mississippi here where things get kind of broad and wiggly and there's a huge floodplain you can see by this lightened area here, that's worthy of investigation, but would also tend to indicate to me that, you know, we have a lot of flood gold here, not much else. And so that's what I would be expecting to see along this area from Memphis, you know, basically all the way down the Mississippi. And so we've talked about that in the Missouri video, and the same thing holds true here. And so that's kind of it. Let's see if you got any questions for me real quick, and then we'll call it a night. Ready to go back. Nice camping areas too. So Bill's been there. Tyson says there's diamond mines about 45 minutes away out of Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown. So I think we're done for tonight. That's it for now. This is Arkansas, and we're looking at what gold and diamonds look like in the region. Kind of give you an idea of the zinc and all that kind of stuff and how it relates and how you think about the map and how we're looking for different metals and minerals and how that goes together with your hunting and prospecting for gold. This is Prospector Jess, over and out. Don't forget the GGM thing. I mentioned it earlier. That's how I do these maps and put them together. I'm going to be kind of hit and miss this weekend, so you know, stay tuned, but I may not be on, so just be aware of that. So if you see me, you'll see me. If you don't, you won't, because I don't know what my Wi-Fi or my connections up where I'm going are going to be like. I'm trying to see if I can't do a little field trip in the middle of this thing, but it might be a little awkward. So we'll see what happens. We'll catch you then. Good prospecting and good night.